G'day folks, Sapper here with another World of Warships video. Welcome to BLUF, or Bottom Line Up Front, a series where I review ships but give you the need to know first thing, and the in-depth meat further on. Think of it as a ship review video but with a TLDR, and ratings for noobs and skills at the end. Few ships in the game are mired in more controversy than Yukon. But I will not be covering the fiasco here. This is a review of the ship, and to assess the ship properly, I'll leave those emotions at the door. Yukon is one of the least played ships in the game across all servers. Something I saw over various discords during the New Year's break was Yukon dropping from Santa crates in mildly suspicious numbers. So, without diving into the colossal PR disaster surrounding her development, is Yukon any good? And if so, what is she good at? And how do you play her effectively? So, with no more ducking and weaving from me, and for the 5 people in the world who play her, here is my review of the Tier 7 Commonwealth Battleship, Yukon. The bluff for Yukon is that she is an opportunistic ambusher and kiter that can be rough to play when bottom tier thanks to her brutally short range. However, when top tier, her combination of overmatch, great stealth, cruiser level rudder shift, and super heal mean that she can bully or out-exchange most opponents providing a bit of skill is applied. The tricky part for Yukon players is how to play when bottom tier, given that she has a large profile and 26mm armour all over. In this endeavour, she is best played like a kiting cruiser rather than a battleship, working with her stealth and rudder as much as her health pool. Many players will find this annoying or outright difficult to do effectively, contributing to a less than positive reputation. Yukon is a ranked ship more than anything, and owners should give her a go in that mode before awarding her port honours. Yukon is a hot and cold ship at the mercy of matchmaking, but she can be a lot of fun with a bit of luck and skill, or better yet, a generous helping of both. Before I get into the juicy details, don't forget to hit the subscribe and notification buttons if you want to see more of my content. HMCS Yukon is a completely imagined ship, although her design is rooted in history. The Royal Navy had considered arming the King George V class with 15-inch guns during their development. In-game, this is represented by the Tier 8 Monarch, and Yukon is based on her and KGV. Yukon's hull is effectively a KGV hull and shares the same citadel and armour scheme. This means that she has a long citadel with a large vertical facing area that needs to be wary of AP dive bombers. It also means that she comes with a strong armour belt that is nice to bounce shells on when angled. However, Yukon has 26mm armour all over and a large superstructure area that means that she is easy to damage for cruisers and is overmatched by most battleships at and above Tier 7. Although these issues are standard fare for Tier 7 battleships. Yukon has a concealment of 11.5 kilometers with full build, and this is the best in tier and second best in the game for a battleship of Tier 6 and up after Royal Navy's Incomparable. Although Pan America's Atlantico, which is in testing, is slated for a similar concealment with full build at the time of this recording. Yukon's air detection is decent for a battleship at 8.2 kilometers, but given her playstyle and reach, it feels poor, but more on that later. Yukon's AA is okay on paper, having decent flak for tier and good mid-range DPS. That is until you realise that the mid-range only goes out to 2.5 kilometers and she's a Tier 7. This means that Yukon effectively has decent short-range AA rather than mid-range, and that can sting Tier 6 aircraft carriers, but is largely ineffective against Tier 8s, and it will not prevent drops by any means. Yukon has a solid health pool of 60,500. This is outdone at Tier 7 by Hyuga at 60,700, Nagato and Sinop at 65,000, and Hood's whopping 67,000. Although Yukon sits at the top of the rest of the pack. Where things get interesting is that she has 4 super heals with emergency repair expert, and this heal is really good. It's the same heal as seen on Nelson. For context, the heel is marginally less effective than Lions and Conquerors. What this means is that Yukon is quite tanky, but in a spongy sort of way, similar to high-tier Royal Navy battleships. Putting the health, heal, and armor scheme together, many players may be quick to compare Yukon to Nelson. This is unfair, as Nelson has a much poorer armor scheme that's easily overmatched at almost any angle thanks to her fat nose and fat booty. Not to mention, she has poor mobility. Yukon has cruiser level rudder shift of 9.7 seconds and an average turning circle of 790 meters. What her rudder shift allows her to do is to remain agile enough to catch a few shells on her decent belt and try and throw off enemy battleships who overmatch her 26mm plating. Nelson couldn't do this in her wildest dreams, but Nelson has better guns. Yukon has 9 381mm guns in triple turrets with Monarch firing angles, which are pretty average. Fortunately, with her rudder shift, she is better able to keep them all working as long as she stays mobile. The guns have one standout weakness. They have a range of 15.7 kilometers, which is why Yukon can be hard to play depending on the matchmaking. The guns fire the same HE shells as Warspite, but the same AP and flight times as Monarch. This means that there is nothing special about the HE, and the AP is short fuse. AP ends up being your primary weapon of choice. Thanks to an odd combination of 0.1 better Sigma than Monarch and short range, Yukon's guns actually feel pretty accurate at times. But even with spotter plane up, Yukon can only reach 18.8 kilometers, and without spotter, Yukon's gun range is frustrating. So, how do you play her? Yukon is a ship that really shouldn't be compared to other battleships. She has one of the more odd and unique battleship playstyles in the game, thanks to her short range, good concealment, and cruiser rudder shift. When top tier, you can play her like any normal battleship, just keeping in mind your shorter range. However, particularly when bottom or middle tier, she's best played as a kiting heavy cruiser, use your concealment to get relatively close to the enemy, angle away, and then shoot as often as is safe, going dark, and maintaining your mobility as needed. Compared to other battleships, thanks to her range, she can be a tad trickier to play. Players not paying attention can easily overextend or be ambushed. Intermediate and advanced level players will dislike the short range but shouldn't find the kiting cruiser role difficult once they've grasped that it's the best way to play Yukon in most conditions. Basic level players may have a harder time given the ease at which you can overextend. A key note for Yukon's play is to keep your speed up so that you can get some use out of your rudder and armor belt. If you cut your engine too much, you'll bleed too much speed in your turns, and enemies will find it easier to get to your citadel through your bow or stern. Yukon's notable enemies are any battleship with 380mm guns or bigger, and any opponent that outranges her, including aircraft carriers. Skilled aircraft carriers love to target Yukon thanks to her large vertical citadel area, which is easy for dive bombers to get chunky hits on. Yukon does okay in random battles and Operation Narai, but where she truly excels is Tier 7 ranked. When playing against Tier 7 opponents, Yukon is a bully and with a bit of skill can out-exchange most enemies. For other Tier 7s, she's just so hard to kill if played well. Onto the build. As with most premiums, Yukon has no module options. For consumables, Yukon has Super Heal and Spotter or Fighter. Take Spotter. For upgrades, pick up Main Battery 1, Damcon 1, Aiming Systems, and Damcon 2. There is the option of running Spotter Plane upgrade in slot 1, however, it's only one extra salvo, so I haven't found myself needing it that much. I find myself playing with her concealment and kiting more than with Spotter. Some players may be tempted to run rudder shift in slot 4. It works well enough, but I prefer Damcon. On to Captain skills. For Yukon, a pretty standard battleship build. First, pick up preventative maintenance, then grease the gears, basics of survivability, and concealment expert for 10 points. Then pick up Fire Prevention for 14, Emergency Repair Expert for 18, and Adrenaline Rush for 21. You can run an Emergency Repair Specialist for your first skill, but I prefer to keep my turrets functional. There is also the option to mix up the order of picks a little depending on your preference, but at least get Concealment Expert as your first 4-pointer, as you are so reliant on your concealment thanks to your limited gun range. The full bottom line is that Yukon is a niche ship at the mercy of matchmaking. She is a bully, or a kiter, or a ninja knifer, depending on the situation. More than most other battleships, she needs to be played to the conditions around her, like a cruiser or destroyer. Yukon is not a bad ship, but she is a Tier 7 battleship that is trickier to play bottom tier than most Tier 7 battleships, and that means a lot in the current state of the matchmaker. To contrast this weakness, she is an absolute bully when top tier or in Tier 7 ranked. Yukon is an odd ship, and there will be some players who can make her work and enjoy playing her, but odd ships are not for everyone. Most players will be able to get some results in Yukon, but it can be a rough time, and there are many easier tech tree options to play. So, how does Yukon compare for noobs or skillz? Yukon gains points compared to her peers for concealment, healing potential, and rudder shift. She loses points on gun range, and gun range. Yukon is a strong ship in many ways, but is at the mercy of her limited gun range. So for the scores. Noob-o-meter, 5 out of 10. Basic level players will find Yukon a rough ship to play thanks to her short range, more likely leading them to overextend. However, if they minimize errors, some good games are possible, even when bottom tier. Skillometer, 7 out of 10. Advanced level players have a lot of strengths to leverage and will be better able to position and play within Yukon's poor gun range. When top tier, good players will be able to bully most opponents, but when bottom tier, Yukon is a challenging niche ship. My recommendation is to only pick her up if you really want her, but try her out if you scored her in a crate. She may surprise you. At worst, bring her out when you get bored of stomping people in Tier 7 ranked with Synop. Personally, I perform really well in Yukon. I'm just not sure if I enjoy playing her enough, but I generally don't like spongy tanks. But she's odd and thus for me an interesting ship. Fun point to note, if I rated her for skills when top tier, she would be 9 or 10. If she was bottom tier, a 7. I really wanted to give her an 8, but matchmaking just has so many Tier 9s these days. More than almost any other battleship in the game, Yukon is a completely different experience depending on the tier of her enemies. Next up for BLUF, I'll be doing a few different premium ships over the coming months, so make sure you subscribe and keep an eye out for them. If you like this review, please give it a thumbs up and let me know your thoughts down in the comments. If you didn't like this review or think I missed something, please comment and let me know. If you want to discuss Yukon, upcoming videos, or anything in particular, please join my Discord, Dark Lab. Link will be down in the comments. We have a great group of players there from all walks of life. Dark Lab is a genuinely nice place to hang out and exchange ideas with interesting people. Thanks for watching, stay healthy, and I'll catch you in the next one.